Hi, everyone. This is Melissa with Whole Person Conversations. And the reason I call it whole person is we are complex human beings with a lot of emotions that we can hold all at once. I'm going to focus on grief, which is a verboten G word in this culture, but it's a reality that we all face with any kind of life change that we're going through. We can even grieve from positive milestones like graduation because what's been lost is our community, our sense of purpose, our knowing how the day will unfold, what's expected of us, and our identity as a student. Many college graduates have been students for over 20 years of their lives. And now people say, "Who are you and what do you do?" And you're like, well, I don't know. I'm living with my parents. I'm sleeping in my Star Wars bed sheets, and I haven't found a job yet. So I'm doing a lot of babysitting and waiting tables, and that's hard because we've been sold a bill of goods that if you go through this arduous process of gaining a college degree, the world will be your oyster. And it's not as simple as that. So going through that transition of being a student into the adult world with many unknowns, there's a lot of grief involved, even though you've crossed that threshold of graduation. Older generations, mine, Gen X is going through that with retirement. We've been told that once you get to this line, right, everything will be magical and wonderful. And the reality is it's not. There's still a lot of financial stress. There's the unknown, there's ageism, and there's the loss of purpose and community and connection that we gathered through our careers with our coworkers and our purpose. So this is a real conversation that I think we need to be having. I've had it with a lot of people one-on-one, and what I'm realizing is more of the world than I can talk to one-on-one needs this. I've been reluctant to jump onto social media, but the compelling need is just too strong. I have to put my fears aside and jump on to this medium that I know nothing about, so bear with me. But I'm hoping that I can give you some nuggets to put in your pocket that you can carry with you, and better understand what you're feeling, how you're feeling it, and ways to name it, and ways to reframe it, and ways to empower you going forward because change is always there. And believe me, I've had my share, right? This is what life does. Life comes along and kicks you in the teeth and waits to see how you're going to respond to it and how you're going to stand up to it. And that's what I want to equip you with because I think right now we have this epidemic of anxiety, which my non-clinical definition of that would be fear of what can be lost. And there's a lot on the line, personally, all the way out to existentialism and the environment, right? There's a lot that we're carrying. There is also, I lost my train of thought. Depression, sadness over what can be lost, like my memory. That is a real thing that we carry, right? The sadness over what was, the nostalgia that comes with that. And also loneliness, we're finding is just in epidemic proportions across all generations. The younger generation, because of the lack of intimate contact that's happening due to phones and social media, but also the extended community of seniors, where we're just having less and less time because families are no longer deeply connected. We don't have intergenerations living together, and that's a real thing. So that loss of connection is something that we're carrying. But from what I'm seeing, we're all talking about anxiety, we're all talking about depression, we're all talking about loneliness as the cause of our unhappiness. But I want to take this a step further and say, I think it's the loss within these feelings that needs to be addressed. How are we dealing with that fear of what can be lost and naming what we fear? How do we adapt to what has been lost and sort of emote appropriately? Because not all sadness is created equally. Sadness is a generic term. We need to get more specific with our words. And loneliness, right? That is such a huge, huge thing. Sometimes we're feeling so disconnected because of the divisive political landscape that's happening all over the country. So nationally, all the way down to family units and even among spouses, right? Like this is a real thing. We can be in a room full of people and still feel very isolated and alone and disconnected. So it's not even necessarily being with people, but being with people with whom you're connected and feeling like you can be heard and seen and validated. We need that. That's a psychological need. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to share these small nuggets with you. I want you to understand that everybody has something. And when we walk through the world recognizing that people are caring things and we can't always see it, right? And the person that drove through the stoplight, you might have called a jackass, and maybe they were, or maybe they're just preoccupied with the fact that they lost their job. So let's see if we can honor the reality of us all losing something, but also knowing that if we reframe it, we can walk through the world with a little bit more grace, a little bit more mercy toward ourselves, I think, first and foremost, but also toward each other. So that's what we're going to do. And I have a lot of content. I hope you'll tune in. This is not meant to be Debbie Downer. This is about empowering you to name, reframe, and heal and sort of just honor what you're feeling and find the validation that you're not crazy. This is so many of these things that we're experiencing are normal, but we suffer in isolation. And I don't want that for us. I want us to be connected in our humanity and the reality of the emotions of it all. All right. Take care. We'll be in touch.